Welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered Nonprofit Podcast. I'm Cherry Chen, your nonprofit CFO, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey. This podcast dives into the real world of nonprofit leadership, sharing inspiring stories, experiences, and the truth about what it takes to operate a nonprofit successfully. Think of this as your mastermind session on the go. Now, without further ado, please welcome today's nonprofit leader. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Unfiltered Nonprofit. I'm Cherry Chen, and today we have a very special guest here with us. We have Kyle Larkin here from Grain Growers of Canada. Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, why don't you start? Why don't we start off by having you introducing a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Kyle Larkin. I'm the Executive Director of Grain Growers of Canada. Our association is the national voice for grain farmers across Canada. So we represent 65,000 grain farmers. The folks that are growing the wheat, barley, canola, peas, lentils, you name the crop, our folks are producing it for Canadians, but also the global market. So about 70% of what we grow here in Canada is actually exported internationally. So we have a huge responsibility to meet a lot of food demand in countries, in over 150 countries actually around the world. So it's a great small association here in Ottawa, and our main mandate, and I know we'll get to it, is really on advocacy and government relations. So we're typically on Parliament Hill almost every single week.
Oh wow! Wow, that's crazy. So I know that you come from a government relations background, and how did you step into your current role? This is very different.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I actually started on Parliament Hill. I worked for a few members of Parliament on Parliament Hill. That's kind of where I learned the politics of things and how the halls of Parliament work. And then I worked actually at a lobbying firm, a public affairs firm here in Ottawa for 7.5 years that really specialized in association advocacy. So I worked with, probably around, by the end of my tenure there, probably worked with around 40 to 50 different associations, national and provincial. So I did some, lobbying and advocacy in provinces like British Columbia, Nova Scotia, Saskatchewan, Ontario, but also did a lot of national lobbying with the federal government. So I had the experience with advocacy and lobbying, and I also had the experience with association management and associations in general. I worked with a number of executive directors and association staff, which then I was able to take that experience and port it to Grain Growers of Canada. So I've been with GGC now for just over a year and a half. So it's still fairly new, but it's a very exciting time for grain farmers. There's a lot of opportunities out there, but also a lot of challenges. So that's why we have to be on the Hill, speaking with members of Parliament, senators, and the government almost every day.
Oh wow, that's impressive. So you've got so much experience coming from the government relations background. Tell us a little bit of a story that's particularly challenging and how you overcome it.
Sure. I think I would say that I think government relations in general is always a challenge. You're going to the government and you have an ask that maybe they haven't necessarily thought of, and the advice that I used to give when I was on the consulting side of things is you want to go with the flow. Governments always have flows; they have directions that they want to go with. If you put something out there, if you put an ask or a government relations ask out there that is going against the flow, you're likely not going to be successful. So what I always recommended is, if the government is very focused on housing or very focused on healthcare or climate change, whatever they're focused on, try to pivot your ask into that flow that they want to go in. If you put something out there that's very random and very out there, out in left field, they're not going to pick it up. But if you can put something out there that has a little bit of the language that they're speaking, it's going to go a lot further than otherwise. So there's a lot of different examples I can give. One I'll give you is the creation of the third ever national college here in Canada. So I worked with the Intellectual Property Institute of Canada and Adam Kingsley, who I know is a friend of this pod, and we were able, after a few challenging years, to create the third ever national college in Canadian history. So as you know, and your listeners probably know, most colleges are at a provincial level. So you have the College for Lawyers or College for Engineers, usually based at the provincial level. There's only 3, or there used to only be 2 at the national level. And so it was a big challenge for us to go to government and convince them as to why we needed a college at the national level for intellectual property agents. It took us years of convincing government and working very closely with the minister, having media relations out there, so doing media interviews. We had advertising out there as well, be it on social media or on the streets here of Ottawa, and met with, dozens of different members of parliament and getting champions on board to really champion the cause with their caucus. So eventually, the Intellectual Property Institute of Canada, IPIC, was able to create the third ever national college for their members, for their 2,000 or so members, intellectual property agents and lawyers across the country, which has really helped to legitimize them on an international level. A lot of them, copyright and intellectual property and trademarks are very much internationally based. So for them to have a college that can back them up has really helped them with their legitimacy on an international level. So that was a big success that we had a few years ago, and the college, thankfully, obviously is still operating, and hopefully will operate for decades and centuries ahead and support those IP agents.
Oh wow, that's amazing. But how do you tie that? I'm just asking. I'm just curious. How do you tie that to the government flow, like direction?
It's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. You're going back to what I was just saying.
Yeah.
The government at that time had a big focus on innovation. And so you had ministers like Navdeep Bains, for example, from Mississauga, who was the Minister of Innovation, Science, and Economic Development, who was very focused on innovation. And so the government at that time was already coming out with many different policies dealing with innovation, and they also were coming out with policies dealing with intellectual property. So we were able to flow our messages in there to show that with a college, it would support innovation in Canada because it would support the IP agents who support that innovation, right? So, a lot of startup businesses or tech firms, be they in Waterloo or be they here in Ottawa, for example, they need intellectual property to protect their innovations and protect their ideas. So a lot of them work on IP strategies and with IP agents. And so it's all supporting kind of that innovative ecosystem we have here in Canada.
Hello, Unfiltered Nonprofit listeners. It's Cherry Chen here, your host and the CEO of Otis Financial Solutions. Let's talk about something that can be a major headache for many nonprofits: managing your finances. Are you feeling overwhelmed by budgeting, financial reports, or keeping up with compliance? You're not alone. Many nonprofit leaders struggle with these issues too, but you don't have to. At Otis Financial Solutions, we specialize in making financial management easy for nonprofit leaders and associations leaders. For over 18 years, we've been turning financial stress into peace of mind. Our services are designed to meet your unique needs, from day-to-day bookkeeping to strategic financial planning. Imagine having more time to focus on your mission, knowing that your finances are in experts' hands. If that sounds like something you need, I'm offering a no-obligation 20-minute consultation. Let's discuss your challenges and explore how Otis can help you achieve your goals. Visit nonprofitcfo.ca to book your call today. Let's simplify your financial management together. Tell us a little bit about how, to me, because I'm also in real estate, my other business is in real estate, I feel like I need to ask this question. Right now, the government's focus is on building affordable housing. At least that's what they said they are focused on, although I question what they have done so far. So being the leader of GGC, how do you tie all these different messages?
Yeah, so obviously there's a big focus on housing, and a lot of Canadians, when they poll Canadians, what's your number one issue? It's housing and affordability. And it's a big challenge for grain farmers and grain growers as well, because day by day, year by year, we're losing around 500 to 1,000 family farms every year. And there's a few reasons behind that. I mean, there's the rising cost of inputs, the lowering cost of that farmers are getting for their crops. There's higher government regulations and higher government taxes that are pushing people out. But there's also growing housing, and it's such a tough balance, right? You look at an area like the Greater Toronto Area, where a lot of the best land is where we're building houses. So it's a huge challenge to balance that out. You look at the green belt, for example. There's a lot of very good agricultural land in that area. A lot of it has already been built over, but some of it we have to preserve. But we have to balance that out, obviously, with our housing needs as well. So it's a big challenge for grain farmers because you have some that have their succession planning is to transfer the farm to their son or daughter, and then others may not have cousins or nephews or sons or daughters, etc. And so their succession plan is actually to sell the farm to a developer, for example, and so the housing comes in. So it's a tough balance. Every farmer has a different succession plan, obviously, but Yeah, housing is an issue certainly that is on our minds.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I ask every guest this question because I want other executive directors and people who are new to the industry, to the nonprofit world, will be able to learn from essentially the giants
Yeah.
that's before them. So I want to ask the question, what's the most challenging, most difficult moment in your career? And how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I don't know if there's one that comes out the most. I think there's a lot of difficult moments
Mhm.
in any career. But you noted when I walked into this room that I'm a fairly young executive
Yeah,
director, and I'm quite proud of that.
yeah,
Actually, I think we need to get more, young association leaders,
absolutely.
association executives into this sector, because we bring innovative ideas, we bring new ideas to the table, which I think can help a lot of associations.
Hmm.
So what I will relate to that is a difficult story. So I would say, back around 9 years ago, I was working with an association again as a
Hmm.
consultant and helping them plan a whole lobby day, which is a day where they brought around 40 of their members into Ottawa for and we organized 60 or plus meetings
Hmm.
in one day with members of parliament, ministers, senators, etc. And then that evening, we had a massive reception on Parliament Hill, where we had several booths. We had like a chocolate booth. We
Mm.
even had a fountain and an ice sculpture with their logo. It was a really cool
Yeah,
reception
yeah.
that we put together. And the CEO of that association, at the end of the day, came up to me and she told me, Kyle, this is the best lobby day and best reception our association has ever had. And so I
Hmm.
was really proud of that. But unfortunately, that was a bit tarred by messaging I got about a day later, where my age was learnt at that time. Obviously, I was a bit younger than I am now, and my
Yeah.
age was learnt. And because of my age, the confidence that was placed in me was lost. Even though I had this excellent lobby day, I had this excellent reception.
Mm.
The not the CEO, but the vice president had lost their confidence in me to manage their file, and so had asked the CEO of my firm to actually switch me out and put me on a different file and take me off
Mm.
of that file, despite one of their best days ever. So it was a bit of ageism that I experienced young, and I've experienced different types of ageism here and there. And so, my message, I think, for young association professionals who want to, become executive directors or CEOs or leaders of associations is to not give up and be confident in yourself. I think a lot of folks have imposter syndrome, right? And I know a lot of young folks that have that. But I tell them just be confident in yourself, right? If you're
Hmm.
coming to the table and your experience, what you have to say, just be confident in what you're saying. And I've always abided by that. I've always followed that, and it's really helped me in my career. But like I said, I think everybody has imposter syndrome. You just have to find ways to get over it and be confident in the skills that you bring to the table and in the advice that you're either giving clients or that you're giving your board or that you're giving your association members. You've been hired for that role for a reason. Trust was placed in you, so just roll with that.
So, how did you overcome that then? So, you must be really down the day that you got the news.
Yeah, I was fairly down, but the way I got over it was just to focus on the other dozen or so clients that I had, but
Mm.
also listening to what the CEO told me. Right, the CEO told me that this was their best day ever, so I could put that in my pocket and run with it, which was good. But I could also focus on all the other clients I had and client files that I knew they had the confidence in me, and again, I think it goes back to confidence in my skills,
Hmm.
and I wasn't worried about my age. I will say I think at that point it certainly impacted me to maybe hide my age a little more, which I don't think should happen for anyone,
Mm.
right? You shouldn't
No.
have to hide your age, and ageism shouldn't be a thing, just like any discrimination shouldn't
Yeah.
be a thing, obviously. So I did certainly hide my age a little more, but nowadays when I look back at that, I'm just proud. Like I said from the top, I'm just proud to be a younger executive director and a
Yeah.
younger association executive.
Yeah, you should. Like, this is a great accomplishment.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for your time, Kyle. And I really appreciate that. And is there any last word of wisdom that you can share with us?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if there's any last words of wisdom. Look, I've been working with associations for nearly a decade now, and the reason that I joined Grain Growers of Canada is the first association that I work fully in house with. is because I just love the sector. I love the people. I've never had a bad experience with an association leader or an association individual. And I really enjoy the work that associations do. And I think it's just that they're very important to the fabric of Canada. And when
Yeah.
I go on Parliament Hill and I'm lobbying on behalf of grain farmers, it's a lot easier to go to a member of parliament or to a minister and tell them, look, we represent 65,000 grain farmers, and this is the issue that we want to focus on. I think, for associations, it's very easy to be engaging with government because we have the best wants and the best needs of Canadians and our members at hand. We're not going there, for corporate needs or anything like that. We're going there for 65,000 grain farmers or 2,000 intellectual property agents, or, you name the association. They're representing hardworking Canadians that are out there every day, and they just need an equal partner in government, be it on regulations or taxation or policies. And that's what we do almost on a regular basis, talking to the government to make sure they can be an equal partner for the agricultural sector. Because, I may be a bit biased, but I think grain farmers and the work they do is quite important.
It is.
And producing food is quite essential for Canadians and the world. So that's the message I constantly deliver to government is, look, some other industries may not be as essential, but I can tell you agriculture and growing food is quite essential to the livelihood of folks. The two essential things you need is water and food.
Yes.
And so we should be supporting our grain farmers and those who grow our food as much as possible, not giving them tons of regulations and taxation that are driving them away. So that's the last message I'd give you.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for your time. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. As we wrap up, I want to share a bit more about what we do at Otis Financial Solutions. For the past 18 years, Otis Financial Solutions has been dedicated to enhancing the financial management and strategic planning capabilities of hundreds of associations and nonprofits across Canada. Our extensive experience has enabled us to deliver tailored financial solutions that drive growth and enhance sustainability for nonprofits and associations. If you are interested in learning more about how Otis Financial Solutions can support your organization, I would love to offer you a no obligation 20-minute call. Let's discuss your unique challenges and explore how we would be able to help you achieve your goals.